I'm Ashley, a 48-year-old housewife. I've been with my husband, John, since college, and we got married in our third year of working. Soon after, we had our eldest daughter, Emily, followed by our son, Kevin, 2 years later. There were tough times, like dealing with Emily's friend issues and taking care of Kevin, who was frail, but those are now fond memories. Now, both kids are grown up and enjoying college life while living on their own. John and I have been married for over 20 years. He's a traditional husband, serious about his work but always leaving the housework and childcare to me. However, since my friends share similar complaints, I never thought much about it, assuming that's just how husbands are. The passion might have burned out long ago, but there's a sense of companionship that comes with years of being together. The physical affection and conversations have dwindled, but I guess that's normal for couples our age. Life isn't thrilling, but it's not bad either. I do the housework, work part-time, and take care of John. This routine will probably continue until one of us passes away. I thought John wanted this too. But John betrayed me. One weekend, he suddenly brought home a young woman. Her name is Elizabeth, and she seems to be a subordinate of John's. At 26, she's about the same age as Emily. With his arm around her, John declared, "I'm marrying this girl, so let's get a divorce." What? It struck me like a bolt from the blue. Kevin's 21 now, so our parental duties are over. I want to spend the rest of my life with someone I truly love. Wait, I can't grasp what's happening. Amidst my confusion, Elizabeth, John's subordinate, sneered, "I'm marrying my darling, so you need to leave, old lady." While I was reeling, the two of them began to insist on how much they loved each other and were meant to be together. Love is wonderful, and all that. I could nod along if it were someone else's story. She's my junior at work, and she has been the one comforting my tired mind and body from work and home life. John said this without any hesitation. Because darling always covers my mistakes and treats me to delicious meals. Look, he even bought me this bag. Have you ever received one? Elizabeth flaunted a designer bag, recognizable even to someone as unacquainted with brands as me. Of course, I've never been gifted anything like that. In fact, my birthdays haven't even been celebrated in recent years. It's blatantly about money. I bitterly denied their so-called pure love. Men's appeal includes their financial power, doesn't it? You're being dumped because you don't understand that, old lady. I know. I'm aware of that. I'm not going to pretend money doesn't matter. I appreciate John for working hard every day. Enough already. John sighed, clearly annoyed. If I'm spending the same money, I'd rather it be on someone young, skilled at uplifting a man, and cute. You're past your prime. How could you? You're no longer needed, old lady. Just get a divorce and leave. Elizabeth leaned on John, looking down on me. As everything I believed in crumbled, I couldn't say yes or a no, only staring at them in despair. That was the start of a hellish week. John started to boldly visit Elizabeth's place and hardly ever came home. Meanwhile, Elizabeth would come to our house almost every day, berating me. "Are you still here? Hurry up and divorce him. It's pathetic to cling to someone who doesn't love you. You look so pitiful, old lady. Why do I have to be subjected to such insults by John's mistress? What did I do to deserve this? Is being an older woman a crime?" Although I felt indignant, it took me a while to accept reality because I had only envisioned a life with John till the end. The thought of affecting my children's futures by becoming a single parent also paralyzed me. It was my children who gave me the push I needed. "Mom, why didn't you talk to us sooner?" One weekend, Emily and Kevin, who both live alone, came home unexpectedly. They seemed to know the situation even though I hadn't told them. "Emily, Kevin, how did you?" "Dad contacted us, saying Mom is hesitating to divorce because she's jealous of the younger woman." "Kevin, you understand how I feel, right?" With a look of discomfort, Kevin disdainfully relayed John's selfish assertion. "That's awful. I can't believe he involved Kevin too." "Ew. That's gross. Elizabeth is 26, right? That's about my age. That's just the worst." Emily's face contorted in utter contempt. Then she gave me a firm pat on the shoulder. Mom, just go ahead and divorce him. But what if being from a single-parent family affects your job prospects or marriage opportunities? Anyone who judges my worth based on that can take a hike. Emily stuck out her tongue and made a playful face. Kevin, unusually serious, looked me in the eyes. Mom, why not think about your own future for once? Would divorcing Dad really be such a problem? A problem. Without him, I'd only have to look after myself. As for money, as long as I get support for the kids' education, I can live on my part-time income and the rent from the apartment I inherited from my father. If I don't have to take care of John, I can work more hours. Without him, I could take up hobbies, right? I could go out to lunch with friends on weekends without getting complaints. I could cheer for boy bands on TV without hearing "it's embarrassing to squeal over young men" from him. After all, he's the one infatuated with a younger woman. Divorcing would free me from all these annoyances. That would be amazing. I wouldn't have any problems if I got divorced. As soon as I declared that out loud, it felt like everything brightened up. That's right. Actually, it's the mistress who'll have trouble being married to such a selfish man like Dad. Exactly. Emily enthusiastically agreed. Hey, I appreciate that you care about us, Mom. But I'm happier when you're happy. As long as you're okay, I can do anything. Both Emily and Kevin were a strong support. Mom, you're only 48. It's too wasteful to dedicate the rest of your life to such a terrible man. We'll work on being independent. So live your life for yourself. Emily. Kevin. The tears I had been holding back finally spilled over. Thank you. I'm truly grateful that you are my children. It's because you raised us with so much love. Having been deeply hurt by John's betrayal, my children's gentle support was a solace to my weary heart. My life hasn't been a mistake. Not in the past, nor will it be in the future. I won't hesitate anymore. I will live the rest of my life for myself. Once I completely got over my feelings for John, I acted quickly. I decided to divorce while our relationship was still ongoing. The risk was that their relationship might end before the divorce was finalized, making the negotiations more difficult. I hired a lawyer experienced in divorce cases and prepared to move out. Once everything was ready, I informed John of my intention to divorce and arranged a meeting to discuss it. We agreed on the costs for our children's college, division of assets, and alimony, all within reason. Honestly, I wanted to leave him with nothing, but a smooth divorce was my top priority. Besides, it was clear that the adulterous pair would eventually fall from grace without my interference. Any unnecessary actions might only prolong my chance for divorce. John paid off what he called the disposal fee for an expired woman, as if he was getting rid of bulky trash. Elizabeth, his partner, initially hesitated at the loss of assets, but somehow came to see John as a generous man. I almost laughed at their ridiculous act, but held myself back. Just a little more patience. A prideful man and a gold-digging woman, they have no idea of the hardships ahead. Mr. and Ms. Naive. Our last joint task as a couple was filing for divorce oath. There were my lawyer and the mistress, too. As a jab at me, she proudly mentioned their marriage right after we had filed for divorce oath. Even my lawyer was surprised at her. Elizabeth didn't seem to care it at all. Though it seemed unnecessary, I confirmed with Elizabeth. Are you sure he's the right choice for you? What? Sour grapes? Just hurry up and divorce, old lady. All right, all right. I felt sorry for the young woman being deceived by an older man, but it seemed I could pass on this joker without any worries. Leaving the two of them mentioning their marriage, I left the house. The sky was clear and blue. I wonder if those two will enjoy the same view. Thus, I began a new chapter in my life. After the divorce, I moved into a room in an apartment complex I owned. Of course, I didn't have to pay rent. Being in my hometown, I had many old friends around for company. The location was convenient, so Emily and Kevin often visited on weekends. I was grateful to my parents for leaving me such a place. The only concern was leaving my longtime part-time job, but fortunately, it was with a large chain store. Tom, the manager, arranged for me to work at a nearby store under similar conditions. My years of loyal service had paid off. Feeling a bit lonely from cooking too much food was only an issue for the first month. Now, I'm enjoying the pleasures of living alone, cooking just for myself every day. About 6 months later, I received a call from an unknown number. Answering without thinking, a woman's shrill voice, not even bothering to introduce herself, screeched into my ear. "Hey, old lady. None of the people from the company or my darling's relatives want to attend our wedding. You must be sabotaging us." This irritating way of speaking, unforgettable, even if I tried. John's mistress, blaming others for the mess she's made, how utterly annoying. Stop making baseless accusations. All I did was share the fact that I'm getting a divorce because John is supposedly getting together with a young and cute junior at work. You said the same thing, didn't you? I simply spoke the truth and bid farewell to the people who had been kind to me. But it's strange that everyone is absent. John's family and coworkers are serious people, they won't accept dishonest folks like you. We were just seeking true love. Sure, why don't you explain to everyone what true love is? Well, I guess the people around John are all quite sensible, so their rejection of an adulterous couple is significant. But it felt rewarding, as if proof that the marital relationship I worked hard to build over 20 years was indeed sound. Elizabeth made a big fuss, but in the end, the wedding was postponed. It wasn't due to the cold reactions from those around us, but because she was found to be pregnant. When the child was born, she even had the nerve to contact us demanding, "Send a gift for the baby, to me and my children." John, for his part, seemed to be spouting nonsense to the kids about loving your new half-sibling. Of course, they wouldn't accept it, but Emily and Kevin had complex feelings about suddenly having a much younger half-sibling. It's distasteful to me too, but the child born is innocent. So I took the high road and answered her call, only for her to complain, John's relatives won't send a baby gift. Maybe it's time you realized you're being shunned? That's impossible. Anyone who sees me would know the new bride is wonderful. We definitely need to have a wedding to show off. What? You're still planning to go through with the wedding? She's relentless. Huh? Of course. I promised, darling. At the wedding, I'll wear a traditional bridal gown, and for our honeymoon, we'll go to Hawaii. Take pictures in a wedding dress against the blue sea. Jealous? How blissfully ignorant. What a lovely dream. But do you realize how much money this is all going to cost? Raising a child properly can cost about $200,000. What? She seemed a bit flustered but bluffed, but darling earns a lot, so it's all good. That may be the case now, but your husband will be too old to work by the time your child reaches middle school. Oh. Did that strike a nerve? Even if his salary seems high compared to your friend's husband's, considering the seniority system, it's quite average. In fact, he's probably earned most of his lifetime income already. Oh. She was dumbstruck, even over the phone. She truly hadn't thought through having a child. Just as I imagined, but too foolish to fathom. He also has high blood pressure, and his health is a concern, right? What? Oh, you didn't know? Have you ever looked at his health checkup results? He's been flagged every year. She was at a loss for words. John hates hospitals, so it was a struggle to get him to go for follow-ups. Now that the nagging ex-wife is gone, he's probably ignoring health checkups and eating and drinking as he pleases. I pressed on, highlighting the reality even further. How long do you think he can keep working? But, being young, you can still work for over 30 years, so you'll be fine, right? Are you on maternity leave now? Well, I sarcastically asked, knowing she might not be able to return to work after maternity leave. Her affair and marriage of convenience were reported to the company's upper management, violating compliance rules, and both were disciplined. Dashing her hopes of returning post-maternity leave. A colleague of John's, who is my friend, had duly informed me. If she had noticed the stern looks directed at her for not wanting to attend the wedding, there might have been hope for her. But it seems she's finally realizing her naivety. Good luck. He can't do housework or childcare, but with true love, you'll manage, right? Amazing, I'm impressed.
Uh, um,
I'm off to lunch with some friends. Enjoy your time taking care of the kids, the house, and John. Without listening to her, I hung up the phone unilaterally. She must be stunned by the desperate reality of a marriage born out of mere desire and an affair. I'd love to laugh in her face and say, serves you right, but I'll refrain. After all, spending time with dear friends is more valuable than disparaging a detested person. A year later. Hey, you're Ashley, right? As I was about to leave my apartment, a man called out to me. It was John. This was the first time we'd met since the divorce. He seems to have been trying to reach out to the kids in various ways. Saying things like, take care of your new brother, and let's be a close-knit family. I hadn't told him where I moved after the divorce, but he knew I inherited my parents' apartment, so he must have guessed I lived around here. It's been a while. John smiled creepily, his mouth twisted in a grin. I tried to remember if he always smiled like this. Had I even seen him smile in the last few years? I thought seeing his face would stir up a lot of emotions, but surprisingly, I was able to remain calm. What do you want? Cold, aren't you? After all, we were together for 20 years. But you were the one who destroyed that relationship. Ignoring my frown, John started to ramble about his grievances with his new marriage. In short, his new wife nags him about not wasting money, taking care of the child, and doing the dishes and laundry. She insists on saving money because his retirement is approaching. A father should play with his child. Change the diapers. John complained as if these demands were unreasonable, but they are considered standard expectations by society. She's finally realized. This man, unhealthy and lazy, who neither does housework nor childcare, will become nothing but a burden once he retires. And in this era, where it's normal for fathers to help with childcare and housework. She must be shocked to see her friends' husbands actively participating in domestic duties. The problem is the man in front of me, who still can't understand his position even after 2 years. Getting married changes women, it's scary. But you never said things like do the housework or take care of the kids. That's true. Times were different, and I thought it was normal. That's when I realized. You were the one who truly loved me. What? I was taken aback by John's absurd statement. He scratched his nose, grinning sheepishly as if misunderstanding something. Being single at your age must be lonely. You're even prettier than when we were married, waiting for me to return, aren't you? Despite the age. You were great for following me without complaint. I'm willing to let bygones be bygones, so you should just be honest too. What? You still love me, don't you? What? I let out a strange scream and almost collapsed. Uh-oh. John froze in place at my outcry. I thought I had softened my resentment and anger towards John with the enjoyable days since our divorce. But his foolish behavior reignited my anger for the first time in a while. What are you babbling about in broad daylight? What benefit would I get from getting back together with a man who has no redeeming qualities? Hey, wait a minute. John was at a loss for words. If I've become prettier, it's probably because I'm stress-free since leaving you. I'm actually grateful to your affair partner. Thanks to splitting up with you, I've been having a blast. I'm so relieved my life isn't ending with me just changing your diapers. Oh no. For the first time, John's face turned pale at my firm resistance, something he probably hadn't seen before. That's right, even when I declared divorce, I never spoke my true feelings, and even after we parted. I just dealt with everything calmly without any resentful words. Could you move aside? I have a date. A date? John's voice flipped, as if straight out of a comic. You, an old lady, have a date. That's right. You must be getting scammed. Come to your senses. I don't mind. If I'm going to spend money, I'd rather it be on someone young and handsome. You're way past your expiration date. No. I'm just giving you back the lines you gave me. Ugh. If I were to add one more thing, you're like non-recyclable bulky trash. Though his mouth was moving like a goldfish's, it seemed no more words were coming out. Well, my date is waiting. Let's both forget about each other and be happy.
Goodbye.
Ashley. He called my name pleadingly, but I didn't look back and just walked away. At this rate, his second divorce isn't far off. Someone said that being happy is the best revenge, and I truly believe that. Especially since it seems my confident departure has shocked him deeply. Mom. As I reached the meeting spot, Emily waved at me enthusiastically. She's my date for today. Sorry, I'm late. John showed up. Are you okay? It's fine, really. I finally got to say everything I've been wanting to. But let's forget about that, we have a live concert to enjoy. I've been looking forward to this day, working hard at my part-time job just for this. Mom, you're so funny. Let's go. Yes. Indeed, today is the live concert of a male singer I've adored for a long time. And this is my second time attending. I've even managed to get the tickets without Emily's help this time. I've developed other hobbies, but following this singer is my biggest joy right now. I go to his musicals with friends, and whenever he releases a new song, I play it over and over in my car. Kevin even sends me updates about his music shows through messages. Being able to chase what I love freely is happiness in itself, but what makes me happier is that everyone supports my enjoyment. People might laugh and say, "For an old lady." But I'm not bothering anyone, so it's fine. After all, this is my life. I had completely forgotten how fun it is to live for myself. Cooking for my family, planning outings to entertain my kids, and creating a comfortable home for John were fulfilling in their own ways. I feared that divorcing would erase my past and its value. But that wasn't the case. My children cherish me. My work and relationships, everything I've built, are still thriving. Letting go of the past and starting a new life can be more enjoyable. Stepping into the unknown requires courage, but once you start walking, there are countless exciting encounters. I plan to continue enjoying my life to the fullest. Seriously, don't have the baby of a guy you've broken up with. Oh, could it be that you couldn't forget about me? Did you think that if you had a child, I'd never be able to cut ties with you? How naive is that? Hey, what do you say? It's just ridiculous. Looking back, breaking up was absolutely the right decision. If I had stayed with such a delusional man, I would never have achieved the happiness I have now. Today, I want to talk about my unforgettable dark history and the revolt against it. My name is Jessica. I'm a 53-year-old housewife who enjoys doing household chores while watching the morning news. I was 38 at the time. I was living peacefully with my husband, Mike, but around that time, a bit of unrest started to creep into our home. Mike would respond to what I said with a "so what?" or "and," in a way that was oddly intimidating or indifferent. So, you see, I would try to continue the conversation. But then he would cut me off with, "I'm busy right now." I felt dismissed, treated with disdain. It wasn't that he was always like this. If anything, he was someone who loved to chat and would crack jokes to make me laugh whenever he had the chance. But then, this transformation happened. It was such a sudden change that I wondered if I had done something wrong, but I couldn't think of anything specific. One day, I noticed a faint lipstick mark on the back of a shirt Mike had brought to the laundry. He had come home late from work that day, claiming he had to work overtime. It was hard to imagine that someone at Mike's male-dominated office had leaned against his back with lipstick on. If that were the case, it was too scary to even think about. Could it be a woman? I wondered. Although I naturally came to that conclusion, a lipstick stain alone was hardly conclusive evidence. There could be countless excuses, like accidentally bumping into someone. I decided to wait a bit longer to gather more evidence, carefully checking for any unusual behavior from Mike. Ironically, just paying a little more attention revealed a slew of evidence of infidelity. For instance, Mike would always get up to use the bathroom around 2 a.m. when he was sleeping at night. I had never doubted him before, but it turned out he was using that time to talk to a woman on the phone in the bathroom. There were also instances when I found long strands of hair inside his suit jacket. And sometimes, upon closer inspection, his handkerchief seemed to have traces of what appeared to be lipstick. The most damning piece of evidence was a tinted lip balm I found when I borrowed Mike's car for the first time after a while. It would be another story if Mike was known to use colored lip balm, but this seemed like the most indisputable evidence I had found. After 10 years of marriage, the frustration of having Mike taken by someone new, along with the loneliness of not wanting to be alone and the resurgence of my affection for Mike, were overwhelming. Is there really no chance of starting over? Isn't there something I can do to make him look my way again? Isn't there a way to rekindle what has cooled off? Just as I was pondering these thoughts, the reality of my pregnancy became clear. It's needless to say that I thought pregnancy at this timing was a gift from God. We don't have children. The monotony in our relationship might have been the cause of Mike's affair. Maybe this pregnancy could be the chance for him to change. Holding on to that hope, I brought up the pregnancy to Mike. But then, what the heck? Give me a break, this is such a hassle. Let's just break up. I couldn't believe my ears. Well, looking back, I think my judgment and expectations were too naive. The likelihood of a man who's cheating coming back is extremely rare. Life isn't like a TV drama where things just work out smoothly. But back then, I truly believed that since we married out of love, we can surely find our way back to each other. Is that really how you're going to say it? It's your child too. Even for the child, it would be better off for a dad like me not be around. You've realized it too, right? Seeing Mike's smirking face made my heart skip a beat. That I'm having an affair. Pretending not to know about Mike's affair and hoping the pregnancy would magically fix everything, it felt like I was being pushed off a cliff. At that time, I thought, if the affair is brought to light, things will get tense, and Mike will never come back. But that was a misjudgment too. I wanted you to find out and did so much to let you, but you never said a word. I was at my wit's end. What? I was waiting for you to say, this is unthinkable. Let's get a divorce. You really made me go through a lot of trouble. You're kidding, right? I wouldn't bother with such a hassle if it were a lie. I have a cute 24-year-old girlfriend now. A 38-year-old, about to get fat from pregnancy. I have no use for you anymore. Here, take this as alimony or whatever, just agree on divorce. He said. After that, I cried for 3 days and nights, and eventually, when Mike stopped coming home, I found the resolve to divorce. 5 years have passed since then. I was afraid of growing old and being single, but fortunately, I remarried my childhood friend Steve, also a divorcee. And we live modestly with our child, Chloe. Steve had been cheated on by his wife too, a fellow survivor of a messy divorce. Being a comrades who share the same pain made life with him very comfortable. On our anniversary, he would book a fancy restaurant every year, and for my birthday, he would get me something slightly expensive. I felt cherished. I hoped these days would continue forever as we celebrated another anniversary this year. It was supposed to be a delightful dinner at our usual upscale restaurant. Wow. Jessica, is that you? The person who grimaced upon seeing my face was Mike. What? Why are you here? I couldn't hide my disgust. What a tragedy. I had accidentally run into Mike coming out of the restroom. What? I'm here for a business dinner. Unlike you, I'm busy, huh? Mike glanced over my shoulder and approached briskly. Wow, so you had the child, huh? The one you were pregnant with when we split? That's gross. Saying that, Mike grabbed the child's hand, looked closely, and began to say outrageous things. Seriously, don't have the child of a guy you've broken up with. Oh, could it be that you couldn't forget about me? Thinking that if you had a child, I'd never be able to cut ties with you? How naive is that? Hey, what do you say? Mike, grinning, seemed to be having a great time spinning the child around by the hand. The child's face twisted in distress, and he started crying out loud. Daddy. Mommy. Help. Some stranger is taking me. There, I'm your daddy. And your mommy's right over there. You're just like her, a stupid child. Just when Mike blurted out those words, suddenly, a man towering over, taller than 6 feet, appeared from behind and forcefully grabbed Mike's arm. Excuse me, but that boy is mine, you know? What? Mike's bewildered expression almost made me burst out laughing. Huh? Is this guy your new husband, Jessica? I didn't answer Mike's question. I'm not sure what you've been saying, but surely you don't think you can make someone's child cry and get away with it, do you? The tall man said this as he glared at Mike. A glimpse of a tattoo peeked out from his arm, and noticing it, Mike instantly turned pale. Wait, Hey, Jessica. Tell your husband to stop. Excuse me? That woman is not my wife. What? Confused again, Mike glanced back and forth between me, the man, and the screaming child. What? Then who is this child? Before he knew it, Mike's arms were bound by the man. This man is a lunatic repeating nonsense. Someone call the staff. There's a man here harming a child. The man's outcry stirred the restaurant. What a day this turned out to be on such an important anniversary. I thought to myself with a smirk. It turned out to be quite a memorable day, although unexpectedly. Waiter. Over here. I saw this man forcibly grabbing a child's arm. My words left Mike gaping in shock. Wait, Jessica. What? What's going on? Seriously, I don't understand what's happening. As Mike frantically protested, I said, I am not that man's wife, and that child is neither mine nor yours. But he was right behind you. You were blocking the narrow passage to the restroom entrance, standing there like a post, preventing the boy from entering. He was simply following his father to the restroom, and you obstructed him. What? Really, you might want to make people the butt of your jokes, but you should be careful of jumping to conclusions. Why don't you look around a bit more? Shut up. I don't need to be lectured by you. Indeed, my valuable words probably wouldn't reach a suspicious person like you. I'm not a suspicious person. Well, any man who approaches an unknown child, grabs their arm, and then uses baby talk like I'm your daddy, is undoubtedly suspicious. No matter how you look at it. But that was. And then, you tell the woman in front of you a mommy is right there, isn't she? Are you still under the impression that we're married? As I said this with a smirk, Mike turned red with anger and shouted, don't mess with me. But the louder Mike's voice, the tighter the grip of the man holding him. Ow ow. Hey, man. Back off. I'm innocent. Innocent? It's undeniable that you made my dear son cry, isn't it? But that was a misunderstanding. I quickly interjected, it's a fact that you misunderstood and assaulted someone else's son on your own accord. Then Mike glared at me and said, you jerk. Yikes, getting glared at by a suspicious person, how scary. I responded sarcastically, with a hint of mock fear in my voice. This seemed to irritate Mike even more. And he began to struggle wildly against the man restraining him. Thinking you and I are still a couple, huh? Or could it be you haven't forgotten about me? I taunted him with the same accusation he had thrown at me earlier. Predictably, Mike got angry, and sensing the danger, the tall man quickly pinned him to the floor. If you thought you could escape from me, you're sorely mistaken. While the man might have meant it lightly, the tattoo visible on his arm made the threat seem all too real. Mike must have thought, this might be the end for me today. Come on, Jessica. Tell them it's a misunderstanding. Mike pleaded. But dragging someone else's child by the hand isn't just a misunderstanding. I retorted. I thought he was my child. Mike said, his voice breaking like a child's, which made me burst out laughing. You claim I'm my child without even acknowledging or paying child support? What? Did we ever discuss acknowledgement or child support after our divorce? Well, no. But you knew I had no intention of acknowledging, which is why you never contacted me, right? Idiot. I wouldn't just let it go if I had a child. I'd make sure you acknowledged and paid up, one way or another. Then why? That time, the pregnancy test was wrong. I went to the gynecologist, and it turned out I wasn't pregnant, which solidified my decision to divorce. Yes, during those 3 days when the topic of divorce came up and Mike stopped coming home. It's true that I spent that time crying. But, considering I might have had a child, I couldn't just divorce without clarification, so I first went to the gynecologist. I wanted to sort out alimony, child support, and future living expenses in my head, even if we were going to divorce. If avoiding the divorce would benefit the child, I was prepared to endure. However, at the gynecologist, there were no signs of pregnancy, but they did find a tumor on my ovary. During the surgery for that, I happened to share a room with Steve's mother. Steve and I were childhood friends, so I knew his parents well. Reuniting with Steve during his visits, we became close again. At one point, I thought of the pregnancy as a blessing from God to make things work with Mike. But in reality, it brought me to someone who made me realize that parting ways with Mike was the right decision. And it also led to the early detection of my illness. And, despite having one ovary removed last year, I gave birth to Chloe, my child with Steve. It may seem like I've been through a lot, but in truth, it's all been for the best. Upon learning everything, Mike turned pale and muttered, "No way. I got dumped by that woman." Needless to say, I couldn't help but laugh. Well, it's no surprise a young woman wouldn't want to be with an aging man like him. At that moment, a police officer appeared. It seems someone from the restaurant had called them. Mike received a stern warning from the police. It seems the misunderstanding was cleared up, and he apologized profusely to the child's family, which prevented the situation from escalating. The scolding from the police seemed to have hit him hard. He even came to apologize to me. Since Mike doesn't know where I live now, he actually went to my parents' house to express his apologies to my mother. He admitted that the way we parted was the worst and that he was wrong. Aging, having been abandoned by his affair partner, and finding himself increasingly isolated, the recent incident seemed to have broken him, leaving him to feel the loneliness of having no one to comfort him. Well, it's too late for apologies now, as far as I'm concerned. I continue to ignore Mike. Honestly, if we hadn't met there, I probably would have gradually forgotten about him altogether. By the way, Steve noticed I hadn't returned to our table for a while and came to the restroom to check on me. However, he decided to watch from the shadows, thinking, this might be Jessica's first and last chance to get back at Mike. Of course, I was ready to jump in if anything happened, but that guy restraining Mike was just too strong. That guy apparently used to live in Mexico and was the captain of a football team there, I mentioned. No wonder he's strong. Guess I had no role to play there. I was seriously scared, thought he was from some dangerous profession or something. He said with a laugh. And I couldn't help but laugh along with him. Normally, one might say something like, not very manly of you, but Steve doesn't have to deal with Mike. And I believe it was a problem I needed to resolve myself. I acknowledge that I lacked strength during the divorce. In the end, I simply went along with the divorce as Mike wished and received a standard amount of alimony from Mike and his affair partner. Reality doesn't always progress like a fairy tale, so getting an exorbitant alimony was out of the question. And I had lost the strength to fight back. But I believe I finally became truly strong by standing up to Mike with unwavering resolve in the end. Now, I can proudly face Steve and Chloe. Coincidentally, this year's anniversary became a new beginning for me. And now, with Steve becoming a freelance architect and his income doubling, I quit my part-time job and am enjoying life as a relaxed housewife. When I ask Chloe, who's somewhat in a rebellious phase, to do something, she complains, but when I stay silent, she quietly helps out. This trait of hers is something that only Steve and I secretly find irresistible. Though Chloe is our only child due to a late pregnancy, our family of 3, and our 2 dogs, live a life that's lively, perhaps too much so. Despite never having children with Mike, I was able to conceive and give birth at an older age with Steve, even with just 1 ovary remaining. In a way, I consider this to be fate. As a child, I secretly dreamed of marrying that special someone destined just for me, and who would have thought that dream would come true with a second marriage? Sometimes I allow myself to indulge in such dreamy thoughts. With these reflections, I cherish the ordinary days that come my way, days that are anything but ordinary, filled with love and gratitude. Hey, Mom, are we going to Grandpa's place again this year? Summer vacation is just around the corner. My son, Alex, came up to me, excited, and asked. Looks like Dad can't take time off, but if you're okay with it just being you and me, we can go." Upon hearing this, Alex raised his hands in joy. "My name is Michelle. I'm a 38-year-old working mom. I took a break from work when Alex was born, but I was fortunate to be rehired at my previous position when he started elementary school. And now I work mostly from home." Alex is now in the 5th grade and has grown up quite a bit. "I'm currently considering the next steps in my career. My husband, David, is 40, 2 years older than me. When we got married, he was a successful salesman, but he switched jobs 3 years ago because of a headhunting offer, overlooking the commitments he had at his previous company. Unexpectedly, his salary decreased, and the working conditions worsened, with endless overtime. My parents are farmers in the countryside, and Alex has been watching them work in the fields since he was little. Now, when we visit the countryside, he enjoys helping out. My parents are thrilled to do farm work with their grandson and always take the time to teach him enthusiastically. I once felt a bit self-conscious about my family being farmers. But now I'm proud of it and even help out with the farm work when I return to the countryside." David, who was raised in the city, isn't fond of the countryside and often uses work as an excuse to avoid visiting my folks. He thinks I haven't noticed, but it's quite obvious. "I want to spend about a week in the countryside this year. What about you?" I asked David, just to make sure. "I'm busy with work. I'm planning to take my vacation at a different time. It's always like this." "Well, I guess staying at the in-laws for a week isn't appealing. But Alex is looking forward to it, so I decided to take him to the countryside again this year." Then, David would contact me almost every day. "Where are my clothes? What should I eat for dinner?" It was always something like that. Knowing David is not good at household chores, I set out his clothes so he wouldn't have to worry about laundry and left ready-made and frozen meals. So he should be able to manage with just a microwave. An adult should be able to take care of himself, and if he doesn't like it, he can eat out or buy something. Despite saying this, it was frustrating to receive trivial calls every day, as if he was wasting the time I had taken to prepare so carefully. When I got home, I was greeted by unwashed laundry, unemptied trash, and a mess, which only made me sigh. I mentioned it to David, but as expected, he said, I was tired from work, so it couldn't be helped. I work, take care of Alex, and do the household chores, yet he can't manage his own affairs for just 1 week? Although I was frustrated, I couldn't bring it up easily, knowing it would lead to a fight. It's been a month since returning from the countryside, and Alex seems to be pondering something. I wondered if he was feeling lonely after the stay, but his response was surprisingly mature. Grandpa and Grandma seem to have a hard time with the farm work. I wonder if they are okay. It would be nice if there was an easier way to do it. It was touching to see him worry about his grandparents, and I felt proud of how much he had grown. After a while, when I went to the office for the first time in a while, I ended up chatting with President Anderson. And the conversation turned to Alex. He was worried about his grandparents working in the fields the other time. Hearing this, President Anderson perked up. It seems our company is considering launching a new project to utilize our technology in agriculture. Though our company is small, we have developed various products. He wants to introduce them to agriculture as well. It's referred to as the digitalization of agriculture. When he said he was looking for farms to collaborate with on a trial basis, I immediately talked to my parents, and with my support, our family farm agreed to cooperate. Since then, there's been more vigor in my life. Instead of just going through the motions at work, I'm thinking more creatively, especially since it helps my family's farm, which makes me excited. I must have the same gleam in my eyes that Alex does when he talks about wanting to visit the countryside. This is the work I've always wanted to do. Seeing this change in me, David, misunderstanding something, asked sullenly. Have you been having an affair lately? What? I was taken aback by such an outlandish comment and couldn't help but let out a startled sound. I had to explain the situation again, something I thought I had made clear multiple times. It's not an affair, I'm passionate about my work. I've talked to David about my work, but his responses are always just, But this time, unusually, he sneered and said, Oh, so you're becoming a farmer now? I've always been irritated by David's disdain for farming and the countryside, but I've never considered leaving him. thinking it's better for Alex to have both parents together. However, change can come unexpectedly. A few months later, I decided to leave my job and start my own business. My desire to pursue my own projects grew, and after discussing it with my company, we agreed that I would go independent but remain in partnership with them. Despite having discussed this with David before, when the time came to leave my job, it caused a major upheaval. When David came home from work, I approached him. "Welcome home. As I've been telling you, I resigned today." I made sure to report this to David again. Then, David suddenly glared at me. "What? You really quit? Why? Are you planning to become a couch potato?" For a moment, I didn't know what he was talking about. Without thinking, I almost blurted out something to blame him. "After all that I've explained, do you mean to say you didn't hear a thing? Who said anything about not working? Listen, I've been telling you. I'm not quitting my job, I'm going independent." "Independent, huh? Sounds like a convenient excuse. You've been lounging around at home with your laptop. And I can never tell if you're working or just playing. And now you say you're going independent. Probably just to continue playing on your computer and pretending to work?" David's words were unbelievable. Perhaps the lack of understanding for remote work comes from people with this sort of mindset. Playing around, really? I have been working diligently. Frustrated, I braced myself for an argument and countered. "You might think that, but I've been working hard, doing household chores in between, and I've hardly ever slacked off in work, household chores. Or parenting. House chores and parenting are a given since you're at home all the time. That's your job." I sighed at his words. "Then why don't you earn a proper income? Since you changed jobs, your salary has decreased, you know? I'm the one earning more now. If I were a stay-at-home wife, your words might be justified, but that's not the case, is it? In fact, I contribute more to our household finances. But you're quitting, right? That makes you unemployed." David sighed and left the living room. Since we couldn't have a proper conversation, it didn't even escalate to a fight. I wondered if things would go back to normal by tomorrow, but then David came back and stopped in front of the table. Wondering what was going on, David said. "A wife without money is useless. Write this down and let's get a divorce." Out of nowhere, David placed divorce papers on the table. I was taken aback for a moment, but I was so angry with David's actions that I accepted the requirement. "Really? Are you sure about this?" Upon hearing this, David gave a sly smile. "Of course. I have no obligation to support an unemployed housewife. So that's how it is." It was pointless to say anything to him. There was nothing more I could do. But, with Alex in the picture, it couldn't be that simple to just get a divorce. When I mentioned this, David just laughed it off. "Take him with you. Parenting is a mother's job anyway. Besides, he doesn't look anything like me. Whose kid is he?" I couldn't believe my ears. David had gradually stopped playing with Alex, and now they hardly talked, but I never imagined he would say such a thing. "How can you say that? He is undeniably your son. You're just saying that because you want child support, aren't you?" Feeling insulted, I raised my voice. "Then go ahead, get a DNA test or whatever. But if he turns out to be your son, you know what that means, right? Fine, if it's proven, I'll pay child support or whatever." Though it was tough on Alex, he had to transfer to a new school starting the new academic year. We would live with my parents, and Alex would attend school there. My work can be done from anywhere, and this environment is actually more conducive for researching and studying the digitization of agriculture. Alex seems to enjoy helping with the farm work, and when I talk about my work, he listens intently, though I'm not sure how much he understands. Before Alex and I left the house, the results of the DNA test came back, proving beyond doubt the father-son relationship between David and Alex. I thought that with this proof, David might reconsider the divorce, thinking it might be better for Alex to have both parents together. But before I could talk to David about it, Alex, noticing something was different about me, said something shocking. "It's okay, if Dad isn't around." I was stunned and asked Alex why he would say that. Then, a shocking truth came to light. Alex revealed that he had seen David cheating. He had seen David walking arm in arm with a young woman several times while playing with friends after school. He also mentioned that he had seen them together on multiple occasions. It seems that Alex had been deep in thought since we returned from the countryside, partly because he had witnessed David's infidelity. But he hadn't mentioned it, thinking it would upset me. I couldn't deny that there had been some suspicious signs from David. Since changing jobs, he had been coming home late and even started taking his phone into the bathroom with him. I had thought he was just busy with work. I had never considered divorce, so the thought that he might be cheating never crossed my mind. Was David's insistence that I might be cheating a projection of his own guilt? Disturbed by these thoughts, I confided in a close friend, swallowing my pride. She then mentioned that she had seen David with someone who seemed to be his affair partner. Moreover, it seems that she instinctively took a photo of the scene with her phone and was considering whether to tell me about it. David should have been more discreet if he was going to cheat. Thinking I wouldn't leave the house because I worked from home, David had been brazenly dating near our neighborhood. Luckily, this was before the divorce was finalized, so I visited our home under the pretext of picking up my belongings. While David was in the bath, I pretended to need something from the bathroom and checked his phone, finding and saving a message from the woman he was cheating with. It wasn't difficult to gather evidence of his infidelity from receipts lying around the room that traced David's movements. After I sent the evidence to David, just as I expected, he got in touch. Moreover, David went out of his way to come to my parents' house, which he had been so reluctant to visit. What's this all about? When I went to the door after the doorbell rang, David started yelling. You'd get it if you saw it, right? I was beyond angry, I was practically laughing. David kept insisting he hadn't cheated. Of course, those words no longer had any effect. I grabbed the envelope David was holding and pulled out the contents. The evidence of your cheating are right here. You've been accusing me of cheating, but that's just a guilty conscience talking, isn't it? And your affair was with someone from our previous company. Turns out, she's married to a guy who used to be your coworker. All that talk about being headhunted for a new job, but we both know you just needed an escape route after things got too hot to handle. Never thought those late nights at the office were actually rendezvous. Sighing, I spoke, and David glared at me. This is all made up. Photos like these can be faked so easily. It was so absurd that I couldn't even muster the energy to argue back. Sure, they could be faked, but this one's real. Why would that be? I don't have enough time to make fake photos, and I'm the one who got this evidence. It seemed they thought they were each other's true partners, having mistaken their spouses. If that was the case, they should have just divorced. But he didn't want to divorce me because that would mean less money for him to spend freely. David's assertiveness this time had stemmed from his belief that I had been unfaithful in the past and that Alex was not his child. Being influenced by his affair partner led him to doubt the paternity. If you can doubt me so easily, then seeking a divorce must indeed be the right choice. Anyway, we're getting a divorce. We're already separated, so there shouldn't be any issues. David looked stern, but I just laughed it off. There might be some inconvenience. With the mess at home right now, you can't even use the washing machine. And you don't know how to take out the trash. But if you turn it into a dump, you'll be kicked out, so you better clean up fast. I don't want to go to a place like that, so I'll never return to that house again. You'd better work hard with your affair partner. Hey, wait a minute. David, looking desperate, raised his voice at the entrance, but knowing no one would listen, he trudged out, got into his car, and drove away. He seemed surprisingly shaken by the confirmation of his paternity with Alex. The affair partner, who had instigated the doubt, probably became untrustworthy in his eyes. Afterward, my divorce from David was finalized smoothly. The apartment we lived in became unaffordable, leading to their eviction. Now, they've moved into a shabby apartment, which the affair partner seems to dislike, but with nowhere else to go. They're living together out of necessity. My work has really taken off, and I enjoy every day. When I moved to New York to work in IT, I never imagined a future like this. But it feels like a dream that what I've studied is helping out with the family farm. The adoption of IT has reduced fieldwork hours, and my parents are relieved of the physical strain. Alex has started middle school, and although I was worried about him fitting in, he went off to school happily today. While he still loves the farm, he's shown interest in my work and recently started asking to learn about computers. I might be a doting parent, but I'm excited for his future. I won't give my personal information to a fake mother. These unbelievable words flew out from my daughter-in-law's mouth, leaving me speechless and resolved. Won't you regret this? I asked. But she retorted with a mocking tone, I won't. Then, there's no helping it. I am not a weak woman who gets intimidated easily. You have crossed a line you shouldn't have, I declared. My name is Linda, and I am soon to be 60 years old. After my husband passed away, I raised our 2 children with all my might. Fortunately, I pursued the path of calligraphy from a young age, obtained my license of master, won many awards, and was able to support my family with the job I love. Life is unpredictable, so the 3 of us lived modestly in an apartment, saving money every month without indulging in luxuries. My eldest son, Michael, was an easy child in his younger years, but as he grew older, I sensed his emotional fragility. My daughter, Emily, unlike her brother, grew up to be a spirited and lively girl. Emily, a hard worker, managed to pay for her college tuition with part-time jobs without relying on me and landed a job at her first-choice company after graduating, where she works with great enthusiasm. Michael, perhaps due to his indecisiveness, struggled to find a partner and was still single at 35. I was worried, but in today's world, it's not uncommon for people to remain single for life. Therefore, I refrained from pressuring him about marriage. After all, there are countless people who marry and end up unhappy. Marriage doesn't necessarily equate to happiness. Then, Michael brought a girlfriend home. Emily and I were curious about what kind of person she would be, but we were taken aback by how different she was from what we had imagined. Of course, it's not right to judge someone by their appearance, but she seemed heavier than Michael, who weighs less than 132 pounds. Before Michael could introduce her, Jessica said, "This guy insisted on me meeting you, so here I am." Nice to meet you. Normally, one would be nervous in front of their partner's parents, but Jessica was unfazed. Normally, calling someone this guy might be fine for Michael, but I believe it's common sense to use their actual name, especially in front of their parents. Am I just being old-fashioned? When I served coffee and cake, Jessica wolfed down the strawberry cake in 2 seconds, chugged her coffee, and immediately said, "Can I have more?" After some light conversation, Emily asked, "Jessica, what do you do for a living?" "Just call me a sis," she replied. "That's a bit." Emily hesitated, probably not wanting to call her that, and I felt the same. Is Michael really planning to marry this woman? Work? I'm not working right now. I had this annoying senior who was like a nagging old lady. So I put her in a chokehold from behind when I got pissed off, and I got fired. A red card for that is just too harsh, don't you think? I was appalled but felt the need to teach her some basic social norms. Things are different now, laws have been revised, and it's not easy to fire employees. But workplace violence is a valid reason for immediate dismissal, I explained. Jessica then smirked at Michael and gave him a playful punch on the shoulder, saying, "Hey, you're siding with the old lady over me? You're not going to stand up for your girlfriend?" Michael looked troubled and said nothing. I worried about their future. Jessica continued to visit our house frequently. She would casually open our fridge to eat ice cream, drink Coke, and munch on the snacks on the table. Emily and I were dumbfounded, but we hesitated to complain, fearing her retaliation. Eventually, Michael moved out to live on his own. Perhaps Jessica suggested he should live alone. For her, it would be more convenient to visit him without his family around. One day, as I placed the calligraphy paper on the table and picked up my pen, Emily asked, "What's this month's phrase?" Each month, I would write an inspirational quote and hang it on the wall to motivate myself. I wrote in one go, "When dealing with others, be as gentle as a spring breeze. When facing evil, be as fierce as a lion king." Jessica also peeked in and exclaimed in surprise, "No way, this is incredible. You could go pro, Linda." Emily immediately glared at Jessica with a displeased face, saying, "She is a professional calligrapher. Are you a calligraphy teacher? She's a calligrapher, a master in her field, I explained. While I was pleased with Emily's desire to boast about her mother, Jessica didn't seem to pay much attention to what others said. I've always struggled with calligraphy classes. With all the talk about the right way to flick and press the pen, I almost wanted to throw the pen at my teacher, Jessica remarked casually. Jessica, since your handwriting isn't great, you should take lessons from my mom. Michael suggested lightheartedly, but Jessica glared at him terrifyingly and whispered fiercely. Next time you say something stupid, a dropkick won't be the end of it. Come on, don't be so mad, Michael responded. Jessica laughed heartily while watching TV. To put it nicely, she's powerful and hardy. To put it bluntly, she lacks refinement. No, she was insensitive, presumptuous, rough, and coarse, not at all suitable to be Michael's wife. I was the one who wanted to throw the pen at her. Jessica was overly familiar with my daughter Emily as well. Emily, you're so skinny, are you eating properly? Jessica, have you ever considered going on a diet? I was taken aback, but Jessica continued the conversation with a smile. How old are you again, Emily? I'm 28, she replied. I'm 30. You shouldn't be so cheeky to someone elder than you, or you might get a headlock from the bulldog, Jessica threatened. Bulldog? Yeah, people often say I resemble a bulldog. Haha, are you picking a fight? She might have intended it as humor, but neither Emily nor I found it funny. One day, I called Michael home to have a serious conversation with him and Emily. I'll be clear, Michael, I am against you marrying Jessica, Emily stated firmly. What? If that's what this is about, I'm leaving, Michael retorted. This is important. I was willing to trust anyone you or Emily brought home, but Jessica is beyond unreasonable, I explained. That's not true, she has her good points, Michael defended her. Michael, you can't even stand up to Jessica, it's pathetic, Emily criticized. I had intended to choose my words carefully, but Emily was direct. Normally, if your girlfriend disrespects your mother, you'd call her out, right? You should at least be able to tell her to shut up, if she complains, she added. You don't know Jessica, saying a shut up would land me in the hospital within 2 seconds, Michael admitted. While I believe a relationship where the woman is stronger can be ideal, Jessica's aggressiveness was excessive. Marriage isn't just about two people. It involves becoming part of each other's families. I had hoped to treat Michael's wife like my own child, but honestly, I had zero confidence in getting along with Jessica. A tense silence followed until Michael suddenly stood up. What's with everyone bad-mouthing Jessica, he exclaimed. Does that mean your friends are against it too? Emily inquired. Yes, they all say it's a bad idea, telling me to leave it as a rehearsal, instead, they're all terrible. Michael lamented. I couldn't help but think his friends had the right idea. A marriage celebrated by family and friends is ideal. I wished Michael would reconsider, but he kept defending Jessica. You all refuse to see her good side, just bad-mouthing her, I'm sick of it. Michael argued. We're not speaking ill of her, I clarified. Her parents are kind though. They always welcome me warmly, treat me to fancy steaks. And even took me to a high-end sushi restaurant where we ate at the counter, Michael shared. Michael, is that what you consider kindness? Emily and I were both appalled, but Michael stood his ground. Compared to her family's home, coming back here feels like lying on a bed of nails. If all we can do is have such depressing conversations. I won't come back anymore, Michael said. It seems Michael couldn't keep a secret from Jessica, as he ended up telling her that Emily and I were against the marriage. Jessica stormed into our house with Michael in tow. I never imagined you'd both be bad-mouthing me together, she said. We haven't said anything bad about you, I replied. You're not the ones getting married, so stop interfering. She retorted, her tone becoming more aggressive, revealing her true nature. Jessica even fiercely criticized at Michael. This is all happening because you didn't talk things through properly, she scolded him. When Jessica delivered a knee strike to my child's body, I couldn't hold back and shouted, stop it. People change through the relationships they have. Some change for the better, while others change for the worse. I wondered where I went wrong in raising Michael. I don't recall spoiling him. During his teens and 20s, a time for personal development, I made sure not to indulge him in luxuries. Growing up without experiencing hardships can lead to a weak character, even in favorable circumstances, resulting in constant complaints. Those with strong spirits can push forward even when adversity is a daily challenge. I wanted to raise a strong child, but Michael turned out weak. After unilaterally complaining about me and Emily, Jessica left Michael behind and stormed off. When Emily confronted Michael, he too lost his temper. Siding with the mother in a fight between a mother and a girlfriend is the worst, isn't it? He argued. That's not true, I countered. You have no idea how suffocating it is to be caught in the middle. I've had enough, Michael exclaimed and left. We didn't see him for a while after that. Then, unexpectedly, something happened. I found a postcard in the mailbox. We're married, it read, with a photo of Michael and Jessica smiling arm in arm. So they had gone through with it. I guessed they must have had a small ceremony by themselves and, as a parent, decided to send a congratulatory gift. Curiously, the new address wasn't written on the postcard. I called Michael. According to Michael, the small ceremony wasn't just for themselves. Jessica's parents, relatives, friends, as well as Michael's friends and colleagues, were all invited to a grand wedding celebration. My knees went weak, and I felt drained. Do you realize what you've done? I asked. If you're going to preach, I'll hang up, he retorted. The wedding took place without inviting any of the groom's relatives, to keep it from me. The faces of our relatives flashed before my eyes, one after the other, filling me with sadness. I couldn't explain why they weren't invited to Michael's wedding, and now I can't even face them. Didn't Jessica's parents object to such an obviously wrong decision? Like parent, like child, both lacking common sense. Something inside me started to crumble. Then Jessica came on the line. Think hard about why you weren't invited. But we'll still take the wedding gift, she said. I wanted to bring a wedding gift and a housewarming present to your new home. Could you please give me the address? I asked. I won't give my personal information to a fake mother, she snapped. I was dumbfounded by such an unbelievable statement from Michael's wife and made up my mind. So, you won't regret this? I asked. But she mockingly replied, I won't. Then, there's no helping it. I'm not a weak woman who cowers when spoken to harshly. Put Michael on the phone. If you're going to lecture, forget it. Bring Michael out now. When I raised my voice in anger, Jessica shot back. Don't act tough just because we're on the phone. Next time you yell, I'll headbutt you. Hello? There's something important, so come home. I don't want to hear any depressing talk. I also have to give you a wedding gift. A wedding gift? Hearing about the wedding gift made Michael say, I'll go, which made me feel even more disheartened. I decided to speak with Michael one-on-one, fearing that Emily's rapid-fire criticism might cause him to storm out mid-conversation. I wanted you and Emily to be strong individuals, so I didn't indulge you in luxuries or tolerate selfishness during your teens and 20s. Enough with the old stories, where's the wedding gift? Thanks to your father's hard work and my earnings from calligraphy, I was able to save most of our money. As the conversation turned to money, Michael's eyes lit up. I've always lived frugally and saved money, planning to surprise you with a substantial amount when you got married. Michael's smile grew wider, and he leaned in eagerly. I saved $100,000 for you. Michael's eyes widened in shock, and he exclaimed joyously. $100,000. But you made a big mistake by holding a wedding without telling your own mother. Big mistake? In my common sense, that's absolutely unthinkable. So, you're no longer my son, you're a stranger. It would be rude to give a large sum to a stranger, so I must decline. Michael was stunned for a few seconds, then started to plead with a tearful face. What do you mean, stranger? That's nonsense, give me the $100,000. My only child is my daughter Emily. Please leave. Wait, it's because Jessica didn't want to invite you. Then you should just care about your new family. Michael was flustered by my firm stance and cold voice. The conversation is over, so please, you may leave now. Is this how you talk? Are you cutting off ties with me? Holding a wedding without telling me is the same as cutting off our parent-child bond. No, no, no. No matter what Michael said, I wouldn't forgive him. It's always been like this, always favoring Emily, Emily, Emily. I only have one child, so how can there be favoritism? Michael stormed out of the house, crying and shouting. As planned, I moved from the apartment to a new house, and Emily and I lived comfortably together. Without encountering Jessica, we didn't accumulate any stress. One day, I returned from shopping to find Michael in front of the house. I'm surprised you moved to such a magnificent house, and it's new and sturdy. Did you follow me here? Give me the $100,000, it's unfair to favor just my sister. I have nothing to say to a stranger like you. Please leave. Then Emily came home. Michael, you brought this on yourself. Reflect a little. Not that reflection would make me forgive you. Are you planning to take $200,000 for yourself? Relying on parents' money at 35 is already a failure, don't you get it? Emily's words were harsh. To prevent Michael from becoming agitated, I intervened. This is the path you chose. You abandoned your parents and sister to choose your wife. Holding the ceremony in silence means just that. Michael hung his head, unable to retort, when a taxi pulled up and Jessica emerged, shouting. Here I am, summoned to the rescue. I knew you'd be manipulated by your toxic mom and sister, so I'm here to help. Jessica launched into a tirade at Emily and me like a machine gun. What do you mean by moving without telling your family? That's unbelievable. Family? I turned around and then looked back at Jessica and Michael. Who are we discussing as family here? Oh, playing that card? Turning around dramatically as if talking to the wall and then implying it's me, that's movie cliché overkill. Not that I dislike such dramatic pauses. You're the one who called me a fake mother. So? I have no intention of giving a wedding gift or a housewarming present to a fake son and a fake daughter-in-law. Quibbling, huh? If you try to trip me up with words, I'll hit you with a reverse dragon screw before you can land a spinal cord slice. You can't pin me down with a verbal small package hold, it doesn't work that way. I couldn't hold back and yelled. When you're having a serious conversation with someone, talk seriously. I warned you about the headbutt if you yelled again. Are you saying your learning ability is less than that of a crow? I'll call the police. Jessica seemed slightly intimidated by the mention of the police but was not ready to give up. Anyway, I'm taking the $100,000. With that, Michael and Jessica left. I was disappointed, not because they didn't want to sever family ties, but because they were only after the money. It's a common trope in dramas where the mother, moved by emotion, ends up giving money to the son. That never benefits the son. If someone strays from the path, family should help, but if the pampered mentality doesn't change, they'll surely repeat the same mistakes. I resolved not to give them a single penny. I want to be as gentle as a spring breeze to good citizens, kind and refreshing. But against evil, a spring breeze won't protect loved ones. Against foes, one must confront them like a lion. I respond sincerely to sincere people, but I must stand firm against arrogance. The boomerang effect is dreadful. Given her behavior, Jessica might have hurt many people throughout her life. Apparently, Jessica's parents are on the verge of divorce. Michael informed me, but it's none of our concern. Jessica's father, in his 60s, had an affair with a woman 20 years his junior. He had an inappropriate relationship with a female employee for years, and his wife found out. A quarrel between Jessica and her father during a family dispute led to him being hospitalized. Michael's words weren't just a metaphor, it was true that she would resort to physical violence. One night, Michael came to me in tears. What can I do for you? I'm sorry for everything, please help me. Help you how? Despite it being night, Michael raised his voice. Family is supposed to help each other in times of need. Keep your voice down, you're disturbing the neighbors. As expected, the neighbors were watching from their windows, so I reluctantly let Michael inside. Jessica and her dad got into an argument, and when he slapped Jessica, she unbelievably put him in a German suplex. German? You wouldn't think Jessica could execute such a perfect bridge with her physique, right? Normally. Emily slammed the table and snapped. When you're making a serious request, don't joke around, speak seriously. I'm not joking, I'm just panicked, Michael said. I'm not well versed in wrestling, so I don't know what a German suplex is, but I could tell Michael was confused. Her dad hit his head hard and is now in the hospital. He's lying about falling down the stairs, but Dr. Smith is suspicious. I have to tell Dr. Smith this is a case of assault. Please, don't. Michael pleaded desperately, clutching his head, then whispered. If her dad can't work, we'll be in financial trouble. Her mom and Jessica don't work, so my small salary isn't enough to support us. Then you need to hurry up and get Jessica to work. Although, I'm worried if there's any company that would hire her. Despite the sarcastic remark about Jessica, Michael didn't get angry but begged instead. Mom, I don't need the $100,000, but could you at least give $10,000? Please. That's impossible. I replied without hesitation. Michael then said. Understood. I'll bring Jessica over and make her apologize. That seems unlikely. I'll definitely make her apologize. I felt a twinge of parental affection, thinking that if Michael could indeed make Jessica apologize, maybe I could reconsider. The next day, Michael really did bring Jessica with him. Though it might have been an act, Jessica looked at me solemnly and apologized. Please forgive my past rudeness. Really, you thought you were being rude? In that instant, Jessica almost glared at Emily but quickly lowered her eyes. Please help our family. We beg you. I refuse. I replied instantly, and Michael's face turned pale. Mom. Before Jessica could apologize further, I cut her off. Your apology is futile. Jessica was quivering with humiliation, but I continued. A person who has lived for 60 years, like me, should not be underestimated. You can't imagine what kind of ordeals they've been through. Jessica slowly looked at me. Did you think I was just a kind-hearted calligraphy teacher? Even if you bluff about being a gangster's wife, I won't be scared. Jessica. I gave a wry smile. You really lack imagination. It's not about that. I'm patient, but once I decide I can't forgive someone, I can become utterly cold. Do you understand? Isn't family supposed to help each other in times of trouble? Emily shook her head in exasperation. Jessica, you've crossed a line you shouldn't have. Please leave. Realizing she wouldn't be forgiven, Jessica turned her frustration on Michael. It's your lack of persuasiveness and credibility that's the problem. It's because you can't hold your patience. You promised to endure whatever was said. Go argue somewhere else, this is unbearable. Cold-hearted sister. She's telling you to perform a pile driver on the concrete outside instead of the carpet. Fearing for his safety, Michael dashed out of the house, with Jessica quickly following. I didn't stop them. I heard Michael's screams from outside, but I ignored them. It seems that Michael got divorced from Jessica. And Jessica's parents got divorced too. The family was truly falling apart. My heart ached, indeed. If I laugh at others' tragedies, I can't escape the boomerang effect myself. Michael came to the house again, but I talked to him at the entrance and didn't let him in. This is hard to say, but is there any chance I could live here with you? That's impossible. Michael hung his head as I immediately answered. Coddling him now would defeat the purpose. After that, there was no contact from Michael. The days were like a storm, but now, like after a typhoon, both Emily and I are enjoying clear skies every day. One day, Emily said she would bring her current boyfriend over, which made me nervous. If her boyfriend turned out to be another unreasonable and outrageous man, it might just be fate. However, the boyfriend Emily brought was a well-mannered and decent young man. I was relieved.